here. Thank you so much. First off, I just want to introduce myself. I am Mackenzie. I am the office manager at Rock Solid Law. We are so grateful that you guys have taken time out of your busy schedule tonight to spend this evening with us. We have a great informative presentation prepared for everybody, and it's going to be highlighting how to reduce your taxes and expand your estate. First, you're going to be hearing from Gary Thurman and Tim McDermott at Guardian Advisors. Sorry, my bad. Guardian Financial Advisors. Or Guardian Advisors.
Guardian Investment Advisors, everybody.
I'm so sorry. Didn't do too well in college public speaking, so we're just going to roll with it. He is a 24-year in the industry financial advisor. He is the CEO and owner of Guardian Investment Advisors. I'm so sorry. We are with Rock Solid Law as well. John Miller will be speaking last, and Gary will invite him up when that's ready. He is the owner and senior attorney at Rock Solid Law. He is a 37-year lawyer with 30 years of owning Rock Solid on his own. He's also the special magistrate of Neptune Beach, and he definitely loves what he does. He's just so passionate about getting everybody set in their estate plan and getting as much of personal service as we can give. He also strives to surround himself with staff that also shares that same passion. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and invite Gary up to save the day. And we'll get started with our evening. I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you.
Thanks. Hey guys, how's everybody? Good. The guys are finishing up taking your orders, so just make sure you get your food order in so we can make sure you get a lovely dinner this evening. Like Mackenzie said, I'm celebrating my 24th year in the business. Let me ask a question real quick. I ask a lot of questions, so I hope I don't get on your nerves with that, but that's just what I do. Has anybody ever had one of those life-changing moments happen in your life where it was a drastic change in your life and it impacted your life in a positive or a negative way? Yeah? So mine actually happened when I was 13 years old. You're like, Gary, why the heck are you going all the way back to 13? I'm only 23. It was only 10 years ago. Yeah. Actually, at 13 years old, my mother, single mother, me and my two older sisters, she brought us down to the living room. I'm from a little town called Graysville, Tennessee, and if anybody in this room knows where that's at, you are a wonderful person. It's about as big as the top of my pinky, right outside of Chattanooga, Tennessee. But a little bitty poor town, and my mother brought us down and said, your grandmother, that's the proper way to say it, I called her my mama, your mama's moving in with us. I was 13 years old, really didn't care. You know what I mean? I knew we were poor, but what got my attention as a 13-year-old is that Saturday night I couldn't go skating, which is the only thing I ever wanted to do on the weekends is go skating. But we didn't get to go skating because we didn't have the money. It cost like $2 to get in. But my mother, in a very sad face, said, honey, I don't have the money because we are now living on my grandmother's Social Security check, who never worked a day in her life. My grandfather, who I never met, was a farmer. So we went from being poor to being really poor. But that's okay. I wouldn't change any of that. But that was my wow moment because I learned how to work. That next week, I had 2 lawns to mow. Then the following week, I had 2 more. The following week, I had 2 more. So by the time I was 13 years, I was making $100 a week. I never missed skating again. I'll go ahead and tell you guys that. But I just learned how to work. And a lot of people go, Gary, why do you tell us that story? It's my why. It's why I do what I do for a living. It's why we have Guardian Investment Advisors. Where's she at? I'm just picking on her back there. I just love to help people. And I love to help people not be in the same situation my family was when our grandmother moved in with us. She didn't have long-term care. She didn't have those things. She didn't have the money to have those things. So it's my why. Another why for me right now, if you can see the PowerPoint that we're going to have up here, is I feel that we have a huge tax storm coming our way. I just put up articles today that the United States of America is $28 trillion in debt. Now, if you look at per American, that's $223,000 each. Now, if we all just write a check to the IRS for $223,000 right now, I'll be glad to send it in. We'll knock a little bit of the burden off, right? That's just not the way it is. But, you know, there's a lot of things going on in our country. And, hey, what was going on a year ago today? What was going on in Jacksonville, Florida a year ago? Everything was shutting down, right? 2 weeks ago, all the professional sports shut down. Last Thursday, I think, is when the Dow hit this negative 3,000 points in one day. A lot of stuff's happened over a year, and that's what's brought us here tonight. Like Mackenzie said, I'm so glad you guys made it out to have dinner with us tonight, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you learn something. That's our whole point, is we want you guys to learn something. So last year was crazy enough with the COVID-19, but then we also had an election year, right? Probably one of the craziest elections I've ever seen personally. And it was, Tim, are we on here? Oh, we are. I got it. First of all, that's our legal stuff. Y'all read that really fast. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're going to skip on. Oh, here we go. So here's the pretty people in the room, Tim and Joelle, who you've already met. So Tim's our advisor here in Florida. That's me and my wife and my big puppy dog, Mr. Titan. And that's actually our team picture down there in the bottom. The only person missing in the team picture, his picture's in here. Tanner's new to us. He's our Medicare guru. So we'll talk about that in a few minutes, but that's our team. We have an office here in Jacksonville, an office in Chattanooga, Tennessee. All right, just to let you guys know. Here's what we're going to do, guys. We're going to do, this is our agenda today. Tim and I are going to talk to you about, and basically we're going to talk about where are we at right now, how did we get here, where could we go from here, could your taxes be on the way up, and can you protect yourself? Benjamin Franklin had a quote. Does anybody remember what that quote was? There's two things going to happen in life. Death and taxes. Yeah, I still think that holds true today. But, you know, that's two guarantees that we have. But our taxes seem to be a little bit out of control. So that's what we're going to talk about with these three things for you guys this evening. I got a question for you. Your taxes will be lower in retirement, yes or no? True or false? No. No? Depends on how you plan. Good answer, whoever said that. You? Good job. True or false? It does depend on how you plan. It depends. But it could be false, and why is that? Why could taxes be higher in retirement? Distributions?
You have to take money out of your IRA.
Take money out of your IRAs. Most likely, your house is paid for, so we lost that deduction. Most likely, you have more time to do hobbies now, and you're spending more money, right? So we just never know. You do have a partner in this, though. It's your favorite Uncle Sam, right? Yeah, he's like this, right? So the goal of Uncle Sam, or the goal of the IRS, and I like to walk around, so if I get on top of you, I'm sorry. They love tax-deferred instruments. What do I mean by tax-deferred instruments? 401ks, 403bs, IRAs. Somebody said in here a few minutes ago, I think it was you take money out of your IRAs. Why does the IRS like you to use tax-deferred instruments? You're going to have to pay taxes on that money, right? The money and the what? The growth. They love tax-deferred, all right? So they are your partner, but you know, it gets a little hard when you look at what the IRS really is wanting you to do. And guys, things have changed. Like maybe look at your parents or even your grandparents. You know, if we go back several years, most people did what when they retired? They had a pension and they had Social Security. They didn't worry about anything. Well, pensions are pretty much a thing of the past. There's still about 25% of the companies out there have them. I would think on on a weekly basis, we're moving 2 or 3 pension plans for folks in a lump sum matter because the companies want them off their books. And I get it. I understand it. As a company owner, I get it. But also, years ago, people tightened their belt up a little bit. They lived a little more frugal. I think we spend more money now. So I think that has an impact on our taxes as well. But the deductions are going away. Your solid partner is there, and they love tax gains. But right now, where are we right now, and how did we get here? Guys, what was going on a year ago? We just talked about it. COVID-19 hit us hard, right? I remember having conversations with all my clients, and, you know, like myself, we were all freaking out a little bit. I freaked out a little bit. This is what I do for a living right here. I see people. So me and Zoom became really good friends last year, but guess what? It was wonderful. I'm a firm believer, and I think God just led us in that direction, and He taught me how to Zoom. And I really don't like Zoom, I'll be honest with you, but I'm really good at it now. So if we ever get a chance to Zoom, you guys I'm going to knock it out of the ballpark, I promise you. But just so many things happened. But what happened on March 27th, 2020? Our former president, Mr. Trump, passed the CARES Act. You guys remember hearing about that? $2.2 trillion were pumped into our system, pumped into our economy. Now, before Mr. Trump left office in December, we did another $900 billion. And then January of this year, our president-elect, Mr. Biden, just passed what? $1.9 trillion. We have put so much money into our system. And guess what? I think it really has helped some people. But I think it's also hurt our country a little bit with some different things. You know, with your stimulus money, with the PPP loans, all those different things out there, who's going to pay that money back? How are we going to pay it back? Yeah. So a show of hands in here. Who thinks our taxes are going to go up in this country? Show of hands. Majority of the room. Okay. So a lot of things are going on. I'm about to bring Tim up, but I just want you guys to understand that our economy is living right now because we've dumped a lot of money into it. Yes, we're opening back up, and I'm so thankful for that. We're going to get punched in the nose, and I think it's going to be that silent partner, you know, that's going to want more taxes. So Tim, why don't you come on up here, bud? And you get the complicated slide.
Thanks. Hey guys, by the way, that was Mackenzie's debut to public speaking. Can she get a round of applause really quick? She did great. So I'm Tim McDermott. I handle a lot of the investments that go into the market with Guardian Investment Advisors. I help deal with the strategies, work with you guys as our clients to help you understand what we're doing and make sure that we're fitting a risk tolerance that fits you well. So I'm a little more on the technical side of what we do. This is US Debt Clock. You can go to usdebtclock.org and look this up anytime you want to. It's a nice numbers page that just says, here's how bad off America is, right? These numbers, if you watch it like live, it will climb and climb and climb. There's a couple of odd things that you can see up here. Gary just brought up that we're $28 trillion in debt. This picture was from January of this year. So just within the last 2 months, we're up another $1 trillion. One of the things that I thought was really amazing, and I love numbers, I'm just kind of one of those people. I looked up the numbers today to see where we were at. We spent over $5 trillion in the last year and a half on this coronavirus pandemic, stimulus packages, CARES Act, everything else. Does anybody know how much we spend as a U.S. government every year? Like what our budget is? 3? Very close, very close. So we're actually dedicated to spend $3.8 trillion this year. We're really going to spend closer to 5.8, putting us about $2.3 trillion in debt planned. That's what's planned to be in debt. So how do we, what we're really getting to, we're throwing out all these numbers, how are we going to pay for it? That's the real question. Mr. David over here brought up a great point earlier. A couple years ago, somebody came on TV, we won't mention any names, and said, we're going to dip in and take 15% of everybody's 401ks and IRAs to help pay for some of the debt and taxes that we were coming out. Got pushed to the side, never happened, right? Just came back on the table, I think it was end of last year, that it is proposed to tax everybody's IRA, 401k 2 to 3% to help pay back some of this debt, some of these payments that we have to make moving forward. How do you feel about the government reaching and just pulling 2 or 3% out of your account to pay for stuff that was messed up? Deficits, things like that. It's not a place we want to be. That's just another sign that's out there saying we're about to raise taxes, put you in a different place. So how do we prevent all this? I'm probably getting a little bit ahead of myself. Where could we go? Are taxes on their way up? It's really, we just answered all that question. This is the last stimulus package that got paid out. $1,400 went out to anybody making under $80,000. Under $75,000, you were maxed out at $80,000 and you didn't get anything. Unemployment benefits were extended until September. $15 minimum wage did not pass. However, I believe it's still on the chopping block and it will come soon. Lots of states have already passed that. And I believe Florida, if I'm not mistaken, has $1 a year increase for the next 6 years until they get to that point. And that might be expedited by federal if that gets passed. They did funding for all the COVID vaccines, the testing, the schools, all that good stuff. And that was $1.9 trillion that got put out there. How many of y'all dove into actually where that $1.9 trillion went? Anybody? Yeah. So you saw some of the crazy things that they were. That's about right. Yeah. the individuals that received the stimulus package was about 9% of the actual plan. The rest of it went towards all the other people that needed help with things. That's a whole longer story that we could get into. But the proposed tax changes that are already on the table right now, Biden's already put in place. There are several different things. If you want to know more in detail about those, come see me in my office. I'll go through all those. There's one that I really want to point out, the top tax bracket and really the capital gains increases. Capital gains increases, if you make over a certain amount, are going to go from 20% all the way up to 39, almost 40% moving forward. Which means, what's the incentive in having long-term capital gains going forward? Is everybody familiar with the difference between short and long-term capital gains? So long-term capital gains used to have a benefit of having a lower tax bracket. You didn't have to pay quite as much. They're kind of doing away with that at this point, if you make over a certain amount. The other big key one is a step up in cost basis. Are you guys aware that if you pass away right now and you've owned a stock since 1987, whoever the beneficiary of that stock is gets a step up in that cost basis and they don't have to pay those taxes as long as it's not your spouse. Your spouse even gets a 50% step up. They're talking about getting away with that as well. So all these folks who have owned McDonald's or IBM or whatever it was since the 90s or 2000s or whenever it was are going to miss out on that step up in cost basis. That's a big thing that affects everybody. It could affect everybody, I should say. So those are a couple things that are on the chopping block. That has not passed yet, but it's looking pretty promising moving forward. Trump's tax cuts were set to expire in 2025, and that is still the case until something else is passed and overridden. I'm gonna let Gary take back over for a minute. I'm gonna come back up and show you kind of a live example of how to take care of not getting stuck in that tax bucket in a few minutes.
Okay. Thanks, Tim. So question number 3, what can you do to protect yourself? I think that's the magic question. And I think we have to look at this, guys, on when it comes to taxes, you can look at it on a macro view, which is what's going on right now today. How can we fix this issue that we're having today? I think, John and I and Tim, we like to look at it on a macro view. How can we help you guys with your taxes for the rest of your life? That lifestyle, that estate, which is why, what John's going to be talking about today is pretty huge. And, another thing that you can really try to do is consider some different tax strategies out there. Something that's very popular at our company right now, we have so many people doing Roth conversions right now. Because guys, to be honest with you, our taxes right now are historically some of the lowest taxes we've ever had. So we have so many people, fingers crossed, that the Trump tax code stays in place through 2025, right? So we're just taking a portion of that taxable money right now, moving it to tax-free money over the next several years. In other words, we're not doing it all at once. I had a client in Chattanooga just 2 weeks ago, and I don't care to tell you, it was about $1 million IRA. Gary, I just want to do it now. I went, slow down, because we're going to lose 30% of that if we just do it right now. So just let's do it in stages. Guys, I don't want to impact his tax bracket if I can, but he's wanting to be pretty aggressive. But we're probably going to do it over a 5-year period of time, so about $200,000 a year, pay the taxes and move into a Roth status. So you got to know what's going on out there. And something else I like to talk to people about is avoiding tax volatility. Taxes are complicated, and I'm not a CPA, and I don't pretend to be one, and I don't play one on TV. I know just enough about taxes to be dangerous, but I do know what the fine print says when it comes to your IRAs, your 401ks, your Roth IRAs, and all these things. So something that Tim and I will do for you, absolutely free, we don't charge, is we'll do a review for you. How can we work with your taxes to get them in a better situation? Again, that macro view, so that we can help you with your taxes for the rest of your life. And guess what? We might be able to help those that you're going to pass the money on to as well. That's a pretty big deal to us. So one of the main things we like to do is we like to use buckets, and the goal, based on your situation, is to move left to right. I ultimately would love to see everybody drawing tax-free income. I think the majority of us just raised our hands a few minutes ago. We think taxes are going to go up, right? So if we can put a plan together for you guys and get the taxes pretty much out of the way, are we living longer these days? If you look at the average life expectancy, it actually dropped by a year because of COVID-19. You're looking at 78, 79, but if you look at male, female jointly, it's 87 to 88 years old. I've got clients over 100 years old. I just lost a client last week in Marietta, Georgia. He was 101 years old. Hey, you want a funny story? His wife used to be a nun. He talked her out of it. I am not joking. He could sail. She passed about 3 years ago, and his daughter just texted me last week that he had finally passed away. But we like to look at those buckets. I mean, if you look at what's in these buckets, your taxable income is going to be what? Somebody throw something at me. What kind of income are you taking that's taxable right now? Pension? Yeah. Are your Social Security benefits taxed? Yes. Absolutely. Short-term capital gains, your CDs, anything you're pulling that money off of. If you look at tax deferred, we talked about that. Your 401k, your 403bs, your IRAs, they're going tax deferred. Your tax-free bucket, Roth. We love Roth IRAs at our firm, but we're going to talk to you about those. You might look at muni bonds. They're not real exciting. There's another way you can get tax-free income, and that's by using life insurance. And you guys probably were not aware of that. But life insurance is actually an incredible vehicle to get tax-free income, which we really love. So action number one, I'd like for you guys all to give Tim a call and get this review done. I mean, it's not going to cost you any money. So why would you not do it? Even if you don't work with us as advisors, at least you'll get a little education, a little more knowledge to your current portfolio. So that's why we really want you to get with Tim. Tim?
This is just a quick example of kind of some of the planning that we can do moving forward. This is what it looked like on the right-hand side, what it looked like back in 2017, and where I think is a pretty fair assumption of where we might be going with raised taxes. A lot of these tax brackets, your 12%, your 22, your 24, your 32, and the highest one are all set to, we're all higher, and I would not be surprised if they all went back to something very similar to where it was. So does it make sense to do that Roth conversion now, or does it make sense to wait? Did you do it a few years ago? And what's the best thing moving forward? Really, if you could time the market in the best way possible, where would you want to buy? During the crash, at the very low, right? This is kind of, doing Roth conversions is kind of like, where can I get away with paying the least amount of taxes? Well, we might be sitting right in that perfect divot right now. And I mean, does anybody in here think taxes are going to be lower? Anybody? So why would you wait to pay your taxes as long as you're doing it the smart way? That's not to say you should take your $400,000 IRA, pay all the taxes at the highest tax bracket, and go on your day. But start a plan right now if you haven't started. you know you're going to have to pay those taxes eventually. Even if you don't, your kids or your beneficiaries are going to have to pay them at some point. So pay those in the most tax efficient manner you possibly can. That's kind of what we're looking at and what we're trying to provide for you. Back in 2017, they were at 28%. Today, that tax bracket's 22%, and it's looking like it's going to go back up to at least that 28% bracket. Is a guesstimate. Of course, nothing's passed yet. This is a quick example. If you had $100,000 and you did it back in 2017, or what we're expecting it to be at, it's about a 33% percentage that you're going to have to pay in taxes versus today being that 24% tax bracket. So that saves you about 25% in taxes. I think everybody would like to pay less in taxes. I don't know about you, but we hire CPAs to do that for us every spring. So that's just an option to put yourself in a tax-free position. That can look a lot of different ways. Gary mentioned earlier, you got your Roth IRAs. That's really the most popular one that you hear of. Life insurance can be an amazing tool if it fits you well. It doesn't fit everybody, but when it does, it's an amazing setup. If you want to see a little bit more about that, speak to me afterwards, and I'll show you what that looks like. Gary, I'm going to give it back to you here.
Yeah, I'll over here. So again, another action you guys can take advantage of with Tim is just go in and have a conversation with him and see if maybe converting to tax-free is right for you. Now, something else to say that real quick, a lot of our clients have a tremendous amount of money in IRAs that you mentioned, old 401ks. So, it's not something we're going to convert all of that money unless it makes sense for you, but a portion of your money at least, maybe even the portion you're going to leave as a legacy, if you could leave that tax-free to your children, grandchildren, church, wherever you want to leave that money, that might be kind of cool. So again, absolutely complimentary. What's the number one fear in America? Running out of money. What's the number two fear in America? Just think about it. What's the highest inflated program there is in the United States right now? Especially after last year. Healthcare? How much does it cost to get a nice long-term care facility in Jacksonville, Tennessee? $5,000 at least, yeah. And a nice facility. Assisted living in Jacksonville right now, a nice assisted living is around $5,000 a month. If you have to go full care, you're $7,500 and above. And John can help us with that kind of stuff too. But healthcare is scary. Highest inflated product there is. It's been averaging about 3.8% until last year. They're predicting a 7% increase in healthcare this year. 7. That's a big number. So something else that we like to do is make sure that you guys have a comprehensive planning, written income plan put in place. Now, we're not just going to say, let's just take your money and give you as much money as we can and go, right? It includes all of these different things, including healthcare, including your estate, which John's going to talk to you about, your income, your risk, your growth, your taxes. That's something else that Tim and I do absolutely free for you guys. I hate to use the word free. It sounds so cheap, but it's complimentary. Let's put it that way. But these are the things that we'll talk about. Where are we going to get our pay from? How long is it going to last? And how is it going to grow? That's our main goal, is to put you into an income plan that's going to make you happy. Everybody that we sit down with, everybody in this room is going to have a different agenda. You're going to have a different goal. We got to find out what those are. And here's one thing I'll promise you, if you sit down with Tim and I, you might be in a great position already. And if you are, we're going to shake your hand. I'm going to say, good job. Thanks for coming to dinner. Hope to see you again. But if we think there's things you need to work on, or we think we need to refer you to another CPA, or we think we need to get you in John's office ASAP, then we're going to be honest with you and tell you that. But we don't charge you to do this planning for you. That's one thing that makes us, I think, very unique as independent advisors. We don't charge you. We want to earn your trust, and we want to earn your business, okay? So we'll come back up towards the end of the night. We want to bring our buddy John up. John and Tim have known each other a little bit longer than me. John and I hit it off the very first time we sat down and met. One thing that we have a passion about is music. So that kind of hit us off on the right tone. But he started explaining to us how he works with his clients on the estate side of things. And of course, it went way over my head, But all I saw was his heart and how he loves to help his people. So without anything further said, Mr. John Miller. All you, buddy.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah, give it up for Gary. Some of you, maybe most of you, thought that maybe you were trading the opportunity for a really nice dinner at one of my favorite restaurants to listen to a grumpy, old, boring lawyer talk about disability and death. Is it most of you? I'm hoping to prove you wrong. However, having collected my 61st birthday over the weekend, I'll leave it to you to define whether I'm old or not. My wife and I had kids late. I have two minors. Almost 13-year-old girl who might be almost 17 sometimes, and a newly minted 7-year-old son. We took them down to St. Petersburg for my birthday gift to see the Van Gogh exhibit at the Salvador Dali Museum. Phenomenal. Sadly, it's closing in a few weeks, so if you want to go, get on and get your ticket. You got to reserve a time. During that time, I love doing, I'm kind of nostalgic. My wife would tell you very. I'm kind of nostalgic. We went by my boyhood home in a little neighborhood called Broadwater near Boca Ciega Bay in St. Pete. I've lived in Florida most of my life. I live in Jacksonville Beach now. I've lived and had my law practice in Jacksonville, Atlantic Beach since the mid-'80s. I looked at this little house that was provided for us by the church that my father served, Lakeview Presbyterian Church. And it just brought back so many memories, and I realized I'd moved away from there 50 years ago. So, as my wife said something recently, I said, man, that makes me feel middle-aged. She said, honey, you've missed middle age, you're old now. She didn't come with me, Joel. You see how that goes. But seeing a place that I left with my little brother had just been born, and so it was the three sibs, 50 years ago made me think a lot about what I do. And Gary mentioned the why. And I think one of the reasons we connect is not because we both like classic rock and other great music, but because we have a really strong why. I told you I'm a preacher's kid. So the reason I chose to be a lawyer was to give people a choice to have something a little different, right? There is a place for grumpy, old, boring lawyers, especially in estate planning. This area of practice seems to draw those people. And if you want that guy or gal, I will get you to them, because I've practiced here since 1985 and I know almost every one of them in the greater Jacksonville area. But what I've created 30 years ago, Rock Solid Law, is to be something different. So what we try to do is implement your plan reflective of your personal and family values and goals. I say that to talk about estate planning in terms of the death and the no longer able to take care of yourself, and yeah, we're going to take care of those things, is like looking at a Van Gogh painting and wondering where he bought the paint. What's the brand of the paint that made Starry, Starry Night? And I've been saying this quote forever, and during that exhibit, it came up there and he said, I hope that someday people will value my work for more than the cost of the paint I put in it. Because you probably know he only sold one single painting during his lifetime. Yet now his art sells for millions and millions of dollars the world over, right? So sometimes we don't know what we value. So part of what I try to do with my firm is sit with you. Talk about what you care about. Talk about what your values are so that I know the kind of plan that you need. It's not what I care about. I care very deeply about a lot of things. Two of them are about this tall and this tall. That's what my plan's about. But that doesn't have to be what your plan's about. I wanted to, by the way, add that one of the best things I've done in my 37-year legal career is hire Mackenzie Capito, and I'm so proud of her. Gary pushed her out of her comfort zone to talk in front of you all tonight, and that is a hard thing to do. And I think she did. She's great with the staff. May I ask you to bring me my water, which I inconveniently left at the back of the room? In writing your plan, you know, they call us attorneys and counselors. I want to be your co-author. I know how to write this stuff, and it's not very interesting language. It's, unless you're trying to cure insomnia, it's not something you want to read on your bedside table right before going to sleep. But it means so much to the future of the world that you care about. So we want to help Florida families plan and preserve their wealth and family legacy. I'm coming back to that. That's important. And avoid costly probate by preparing for the future of your loved ones. I'm lucky. I represent some people who have a whole lot of money. I also represent some people that don't have a whole lot of money. And you know what? The plan for that second person is almost as important or equally important to the first one. With my really wealthy clients, a lot of them are trying not to ruin their kids with money, even when their kids are already 30, right? Because some of them aren't responsible enough or have some habits that we need to plan not to dump a bunch of money in their lap that they're going to lose in no time, right? So whatever scenario you find yourself in, we can work on probate. Folks, I helped teach the Dave Ramsey Financial Peace course at my church a few years ago. He'll tell you that 80%, 8 out of 10 people do not have any estate plan at all in America, or it's so darn old they might as well not. And also 80% of people are going through probate. Probate is a tax you put on yourself. I'm gonna give you some startling stats about probate in a second. I am an anti-probate device if it's right for the family. I have people, usually people with very little in the bank, maybe they own their home or most of it, where the will-based plan is the perfect plan. And I'd love to educate you about the difference between a will-based and a trust-based plan, but that's a little beyond what I want to talk to you about tonight. So what can planning be about? It can be about your heirs. It can be about who you love. That's what mine's about. It can also be about your legacy. I've, again, practiced 37 years. I've seen family trees burned to the ground right after somebody dies over a startlingly small amount of money. I've seen siblings that'll never talk again, and therefore cousins that'll never know each other, right? So, and that person who may have lived a really great and heroic life, their legacy is tarnished. I also practice in business transactional work and real estate. I give real estate speeches sometimes to a room full of realtors. You know what they do? They come up after, they go, let me tell you what Uncle Bob did after my dad died, right? So unfortunately, her dad's legacy is all about the way his brother tried to cheat her out of what he had intended to be her inheritance. We can lock that down. In America, I can't stop anybody from suing anybody over anything. You guys know that. But we can make it almost an impossibility by creating airtight documents. I've found, and I love this is where my heart is, most people care about something, right? Either their family, their children, other people, or other things, charities. One of my favorite things is when somebody tells me, what I really want to do is give this money away to worthy causes. How can we do that the best way? How can we do that while only paying the mandatory taxes and not the voluntary ones? I said that on purpose. A lot of people are paying voluntary taxes that could have been avoided. I consider one of my jobs in this community to help you not do that whenever possible. I think everybody should pay their mandatory taxes. I'm an American. I got a I do have Civil War officers, but I have a Revolutionary War general, direct ascendant in my family tree. We've been here, right? We're mostly poor, like Gary's family. We're preachers and soldiers. That's who I come from. I want to help every family pay only what you're required to during your life and after you're gone. We can also put contingencies on when people get the money you leave behind and don't use. Some people make their kids have a job, right? I've had one recently, at least 10 of the last 12 months, they had to be fully employed or they don't get any money. Fair enough. It gets doled out every few years. A trust is the only way you can control your money after you're gone. A will can't do that for you. All right. Again, we want to tell your story based on your values, and I call that showing your love to who or what you treasure. I know, I'm smart enough to know that I'm all that's between you guys and a really nice dinner, so I'm not going to go on too long, right? But I want to tell you a couple of things. It's all about keeping as much as possible of what you have and grow so that you can do it with it what you want, when you want, and ultimately share it with who you want, when you want. All that can be accomplished in this story that we tell together. That's where the tax planning comes in. There's all sorts of different opportunities to plan for taxes. And I'm not going to go into any of those things, but I will tell you, I told you I'd get back to it. 8 out of 10 people go through probate. Probate is an expensive process. Facts have shown that all in, the probate process can reduce an estate and typically does 30 to 60%, and it happens 80% of the time. One of my jobs is to keep people from making that mistake. I want whoever or whatever you love to get that money when you're gone. It's not mine. And you know who's going to get it? Some lawyer you don't know, right, is going to do the probate and get a big fat fee out of it, okay? Appoint a trustee, somebody you know and trust, and give them the rules for giving your money away when the time comes. During your lifetime, you still have complete control of it. Love to talk to you more about that too. Why is it important? In America, statistics show that families go from rags to riches and back to rags in 3 generations. You heard that before? 3 or maybe 4 generations. You've heard it. There's nothing quite as worthless as a 3rd generation wealthy kid, right? Unless you build a plan that makes them work for that money you're going to leave behind and show some work ethic. Again, that's my value. It might be yours. Would it be important to you guys to preserve what you've earned and give it to who you want, when you want? I think it is. We have an array of tools, devices, and methodologies, and if we sit down sometime, I'll be glad to go through lots and lots of those things after I learn who you are, where you are now, where you're going, and what you care about. What you care about is totally up to you. I won't project that on you. But I rarely meet anybody that doesn't care about something, right? And to get that put into a plan, I can help you. So you met Mackenzie. She's in the back. I've practiced a long, long time. I have an hourly rate like every lawyer, right? So I have paid consultations when I sit down with people. I'd like to make you guys an offer. I value the time that you're spending with us tonight. If you get with Mackenzie tonight and make an appointment, I'm going to waive the consultation fee and do that meeting with me, with you, without a fee. What's that word you said?
Wow.
Wow. What's that other word you said?
Free.
No, not free. I like complimentary. I like that complimentary. If you're just not ready to do that tonight, I don't want you to feel no pressure. If you'll call Mackenzie and make an appointment by the end of the month, I'll do it half price. I think that's pretty fair too. My calendar is pretty full. These ladies work me hard. Mackenzie's got a great team behind her. I'm pleased. And now that she's given her notice and is left, I can tell you that I have an associate, a well-experienced associate in my age group coming in to help me next month. So I'm gonna work a little less hard, but have a little more time to sit down and do the consultations. The part I like is the planning, the meeting with you, the helping you, help draw out from you that which you care about, and then we know how to put that into a plan. I'll leave you with, I feel confident everybody in this room likes to make an informed rather than an uninformed decision, right? Whenever you're making any decision, whenever you're at a crossroads in life, I believe that the results of our life are the results of decisions made at crossroads, right? You can't do it unless you're informed. If you come talk to me at least you'll leave that meeting informed about what the future might hold for you and what we might be able to do together. Guys, I'm so glad you're here. Who's from the other side of the ditch? East of the ditch? Beach people? And other people are from this side nearby over here? I think all the invitations were close. Yeah, to here? Well, it's great to see everybody. I love our community. Anybody from Neptune Beach? Ah, okay. You guys want to take a hard look at me because you never want to see me behind in the mayor's chair because that means you did something wrong against city ordinances. So I will say this. People ask, what's it like being a special magistrate for Neptune Beach? You guys are old enough to remember the Maytag repairman ads? It's the loneliest judge job in the world because Neptune Beach works with its citizens so hard to make sure nobody violates anything or they work out a violation. Because once it gets to me, it's a pretty black or white determination, right? It's either a violation or not. So I'm privileged to be your special magistrate. Forever how long the mayor will keep me. I serve at her pleasure. So I'll be doing that for a while. And I'm gonna spend the rest of my practice right there at the beaches with you. I'm down by Roy's or Bonefish. You know where that is. And I've been at the beaches since 1991. And it's great to grow with this community. Thank you guys for spending some time. I'm gonna turn it back over briefly to Gary and Tim. Then let's enjoy our dinner.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
One of the reasons we partnered with John here locally is because I've met with John several times, and I want to find somebody that I can send my clients to that I know is going to do a phenomenal job with their estate plan. Because at the end of the day, if they're trusting me to help them take care of their assets, I want to make sure that there's somebody that they can take care of their estate plan, and they don't come back to me at the end of the day and say, "Why did you send me to that guy?" John, can I call you out really quick?
Hey, John.
Hang on.
Can I call you out? Can I call you out? Can I put you on the spot real quick?
Yeah.
So one of the things John does really well is avoiding probate. John and I have talked about this a few times before. A lot of attorneys will put you in a position to actually go through probate so that you go back to that attorney and use them again for probate. It sounds crazy, but it's very true. Is there one or two things that they can go home and look at to make sure that they're going to avoid probate?
Whew. Okay. Yeah, if you've got a will, you're going to probate. If you have no planning at all, you're going to probate, period. Right? If you have a trust, we can avoid ever having the government and the judge have any of your business at that when you're finished with your assets.
But does everybody need a trust?
I'll give you an example. So I kind of have a little figure in my head of about how much you need to have accumulated to make a trust make sense. But it also depends on what kind of assets you have. But last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, it was hard for me to look at that's the one that said I skipped middle age and went straight to old age. And oh, by the way, I totally outkicked my coverage, and I admit to being the international president of the Married Over His Head Club. But I've got Tim and Gary on my board of directors. So I had a client, she's a teacher, great career, had a little money, not a lot of money. But she had just gone through probating your dad's estate. And I said, really, in your situation, and I kind of sat and did the math with her, the total that her heirs would pay for the probate would basically equal what she'd pay now for the trust. So I said, I know I'm doing old commercials, but it's the pay me now or pay me later. Was that Midas Muffler or something syndrome? So you could leave that for your kids to pay. And it's really not going to make that big a tax difference given the size of your estate. She said, you know what? What matters to me is not the money. It's to make it as easy as possible for my kids when I'm gone. And so we're doing a trust. So it really, yes, if you've got several $100,000 and up, we need to talk about a trust. But it may or may not be the right thing for you. And if you have less than that, like that client, wow, it turned out that because of what she cared about, not because of the black and white facts and dollars, it was important to her that she know that it was going to be easy on her kids when she was gone. So the trust is the right way to go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. On the financial planning side of things, something as simple as having a beneficiary listed on your accounts is something to help you avoid probate. I don't know, a lot of you probably may or may not have a beneficiary listed if you have a non-qualified brokerage account. It's not something that automatically comes out with the paperwork. It's a separate form usually that has to be filled out. So check your accounts, make sure that's done, and help you avoid probate. Gary, I'll let you close this out, and I appreciate it.
Tim. So 2 things to point out real quick. Both, John just said that if you book with him tonight, he's going to waive that fee. I think that's a pretty big deal. And then I mentioned earlier that Tim and I will do the same thing for you guys. I don't want you to think making an appointment with us means you're dedicating to us, that you're committing to us. We're just going to have a simple conversation and find out if it's right for you. I wanted 3 more minutes of your time. I think I got about 3 minutes. And I want to ask you guys a simple question. Anybody know what lazy money is? What's lazy money? I heard something, but I didn't hear it. You want lazy money? I think lazy money is money that you have that's not working for you. No, I don't want that. Okay. I thought I might change his mind. What am I talking about? What's lazy money? Let's just do this. Do we all need a savings account? Yes. We need an emergency account, right? We need all those things. But the money's not working for you. And if you're doing CDs, I mean, you're making what? Throw a number. Give me a 3-year rate on a CD in Jacksonville, Florida. 0.50. Whew, Lord. 0.50. And guess what you're doing on that money right there? You're paying taxes on it. You're paying taxes on it every year. So when you look at that, that's your 3-year. I mean, there's 3-year programs that Tim and I have right now that are paying 2.25% tax deferred. So it compounds over the 3-year period of time. What about a 5-year CD? What's a 5-year CD paying? Everybody's like, I have no clue because I don't want a 5-year CD. What I pulled up before I got here was just around 1%. We can give you 2.85. Again, growing tax deferred. I'm just throwing a few things out there about lazy money. Here's my favorite lazy money thing. What I just say the number 2 issue was in America right now, concern, fear, healthcare, right? What if you had lazy money doing nothing for you? What if it could give you safety? What if it could give you growth? Last 20 years, between 6 and 7.5% average. What if it could give you liquid options? Oh, it's going to be liquid? I can get my hands on that money when I want to? You can. What if it gave you the, I call it, if you need long-term care? It's not long-term care. It's if you need long-term. Who has traditional long-term care insurance in here? Congratulations. Don't get rid of it. We might need to review it. Make sure you're not paying for something you don't need. Okay, that's free. We can do that for you. But if you never use that traditional long-term care, what happens to all that money you're paying in? Goes away, right? And guess what? I hope you never use it. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't know you guys, but I hope you don't need long-term care. But what if this happened last week in Chattanooga? 65-year-old female. She had $400,000 sitting in the bank. Lazy money. We're taking $200,000. This is awesome. Day one, when she makes that $200,000 deposit, she's getting $425,000 in a death benefit. What does that mean? She makes this, puts this money in, and she dies a week later. What happens? She just increased her death benefit to her family by $225,000. It's life insurance, so how does that beneficiary get that money? Tax-free. She just got a $225,000 tax-free gain to her beneficiary. Here's what's more awesome. Or as Tim's daddy, here's what's more better. That's what he used to say. This is more better. More better. Day one, she got $387,000 for long-term care if she needs it. If she doesn't need it, then the money just passes. Got your attention a little bit? I used to do a seminar and say, let's name the best financial product you can. Let's put it together as a group, and this is what we'd come up with. You've got two options with this program. You can make it fully liquid, which means in a year, if you want all your money back, we give it to you, no questions asked. Remember I told you it averages a 6 to 7.5% growth? If we go fully liquid, you're going to average more like 5%. Company's going to keep a little bit of that growth, okay? Because you're fully liquid. You can take the money from them anytime you want. Here's what most clients do. In 4 years, we can do a return of premium rider, which means in 4 years, if you decide, you know what, Gary, I'm not going to get sick. I decided to buy a house in wherever. I need my $200,000 back, or whatever the number is. Give it to you back, 100%, no questions asked. So it's the only financial vehicle I know out there that's going to increase your estate and a death benefit tax-free, give you long-term care, God forbid if you need it, and oh, by the way, if you happen to need your money, you can get it back. I do a radio show, and we talk about lazy money on the radio show all the time. And it's amazing how many calls we get, John, from that when people go, whoa, why do we use the bank? Is it safe? Does it grow? Let's take that one out. It's mostly liquid. It's mostly liquid. It doesn't have any long-term care. So there's a lot of different vehicles out there that you guys can explore to make sure that your financial plan is put in place. And then you can take something like this, work with John, and make sure it's set up in the state as you would like for it to be passed on. Pretty cool stuff, right? So we can show you all these different things that we've talked about tonight. We can help you with your taxes. We can talk about Roth conversions, all kinds of different things we can talk about. And as we both have mentioned, guys, we're not charging right now to do this, only because you're here tonight. And you're going to get has anybody never eaten here, by the way? Oh, you're in for a treat. When I come to Jacksonville, this is here in Dockside. It's tell them we got to go, Mark 32 or Dockside. That's my favorite two places to go. Like I said, I'm from Chattanooga, Tennessee, but I'm down here once a month. But Tim's here all the time until I bring him to Tennessee, because I do that a lot too. So we're back and forth. But our office is over in Jacksonville Square, Town Center, so real easy to find. So what I would love for you guys to do is get with Mackenzie and get a time set up with John, and I'd love you to get with Tim and get a time to set up and meet with him. We'd love to just work with you and become your friend and see if we can make a marriage in everything we do. So does anybody have any questions for myself, Tim, or John real quick before the dinner comes out?
We can also do joint consultation with John and Tim.
Oh, absolutely.
If you guys want to do like a one-stop.
Yeah, that would be easy. Did you have a question? Okay. You're like, no, I didn't raise my hand.
You have a flat rate for a state?
Yes. Well, it depends on what you need.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how much it is until I know what you need.
Taxable trust?
A revocable living trust couples package? Okay, and you're going to get everything that you need.
It's going to be around $4,500.
Yeah, everything's under $5,000
Right.
until you get to asset protection. If we're getting fancy, you can't hold me to that price, right? And at probate, you're going to out of the box. It's going to be $3,000. So yeah, that includes all of your living documents too, of course, power of attorney, healthcare surrogate.
Yeah. Hey, who's on Medicare in here? Okay. If you really want to get educated on your Medicare plan, I'd really love for you to reach out to Tanner. He's the good-looking guy right there in the front folder. All right. So Tanner will be working here in Florida for our firm as well. I've learned so much from this young man when it comes to Medicare. I didn't want to learn Medicare. It was just another piece of the pie. I'm like, no, I don't need another thing on my plate. So we hired Tanner. The things he has done for our current clients absolutely amazes me, where they had a plan, but he was able to show them how it might be great or not so great for them. And if you have questions even tonight about your Medicare plan, you could write your information right here and we can tear that off. I'll take it with me and he'll call you next week, or just call him. All this information's in here. Just let him know you're at the event with Gary and Tim and you have questions about your Medicare plan. We just want to make sure it's the right one. I think this is a big issue, again, we have in America. I think a lot of people just buy Medicare plans and they really don't know what they're buying. It gets a little scary to me when I see the numbers. So that's something else that we offer for you guys. So you guys have been great. Thanks for putting up with John and I's corny jokes, because I know they're pretty corny. But we try our best, don't we?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Quick question. How diversified are you all in working with different industries and institutions, profit versus nonprofit versus military, etc.?
Really good. One of the things I'm most proud of about our firm is we are an independent firm. We're not a captive firm. And what I mean, just to let you guys know about that, if we were a captive firm, we could only work inside that firm and what they offer and what they do. Tim and I are independent advisors, and we work with a huge group called Advisors Excel and AE Wealth that gives us the ability to work with all different types of industries. And even to the point where if you brought something to us and Tim and I were like, okay, we don't specialize in this, we're going to find somebody who does, and we're going to be able to bring that to the table for you. So
we have clients here just in Jax that are part of JSO, veteran military, current military, teachers, pretty much all the way across the board. So I know a lot of folks have questions about their drop plan, how to maximize that, pensions. I'm pretty familiar with all of that here in Jacksonville.
Anybody else? So we're going to hang out for a few minutes. I'd love to see you guys making appointments with Mackenzie and Tim. Myself and John's going to hang out. If you have a question for us, we'll come over to your table. And then you guys are going to enjoy a great dinner here tonight. You do have some goodies on the table. John provided some masks for you guys. Aetna gave us some hand sanitizer. Can't have too much of that right now, right? I actually have a little bit more hand sanitizer back there if y'all want a few extras, or take ones off the tables. But Aetna was sweet enough, and I've even got more ink pens back there if y'all want them. I didn't put them out on the table because I just thought that was a little too much. But I appreciate every one of you guys. I hope God blesses your food, and you guys enjoy your dinner. Thanks a lot. Thanks, buddy.